Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. Good morning. Can we get into the conference room and we can get started? Okay. Very good morning to everyone, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you to the 39th IEEE Symposium on Security and Privacy. My name is Jason Lee, General Chair for 2018. Welcome to San Francisco. So this is the first time we're using this new hotel, and we have signed 4 years contract. So for the next 4 years, hopefully the community here, we're going to gather and enjoy this wonderful conference. Similar to last year, we are observing the IEEE statement on US government travel restrictions. So that's the same as last year. In addition, starting from 2018, we are trying to establish some general rules and policy of code of conduct. I believe that you have all received emails regarding this, included in your Know Before You Go email. Please take a look. It is our duty and joint responsibility to establish a great environment that is professional and enjoyable. For registration, as you probably noticed, we have increased the registration fee due to the new hotel, the expenses and cost, and we have continued to work closely with executive events to provide professional level of management throughout the process, and also with the help of our volunteers from Cynthia students. So we have opened registrations a few weeks earlier than last year, and the workshop registration has gone up significantly due to the great work and the offering of workshops. It is new this year that we start to offer registration discount of $100 if you use the conference venue here. This is the registration number as of 7 p.m. last night. We're approaching 700 people. So the 692 total registration is a record high, and the 589 Symposium attendee is about even as our record high. And if you look at the workshop numbers, that's very high. So congratulations and thanks very much for your dedication for this community. In terms of papers and engagement, starting this year, led by the PC chairs, we have started the continuous submission review and publishing process, which gives us a lot of challenge, but this is worth trying. And Brian and Chris, they will provide more detailed information on this matter. All the papers are available this week at the following website. You have that information at the back of your badge, so please take a look. And last year's papers is also available on this Computer Science Digital Library. This is open access. Also, like last year, all the talks will be posted within 24 hours to the IEEE YouTube channel. So for those of you who have not signed up and released your slides and videos, please do so, especially the short talks. We believe that all the symposium presenters have entered their information. As last year, please broadcast how exciting this conference is through Twitter and other social media. Through the year, the following folks spent tremendous of time organizing. In addition to the standard high quality of SP, Oakland, this year we're facing some new challenges, so they have all dedicated numerous hours and times and effort into this. So a big round of applause for all the organizing committee, please. We also extend our gratitude to our TC on security and privacy, Sean, Ofar, Young, and Hillary. This conference has been tremendously successful, and with all the dedications from the organizing community, a lot of those wonderful things wouldn't be able to happen without generous support from our donors. Our platinum donor this year was NSF. They have sponsored a lot of student travel. So those of you who got help from NSF in student travel, please express your great gratitude to NSF. And our gold donors this year, they are Army Research Lab for student travel. Something wrong with the slides, please. Avast is a new donor. Baidu, Cisco, Facebook, Goldman Sachs, and Google, they are returning gold level donors. Many thanks. Our silver level donors are CMU SEI CERT, IBM Research, Microsoft Research, Palo Alto, VMware, Symantec. They are returning donors. And we have new donor this year, ONR and Visa Research. Bronze level donors, long-timers, IAI, Lincoln Lab, NIDRD, Springer, and relatively new donors, Oxford, River Publishers, and Steer. Without their generous support, a lot of this great experience couldn't have happened. So please, a big round of applause to our generous donors. We have 63 papers over 3 days. There's one 6-paper session per day, and we're gonna have the posters reception today at 6 p.m. downstairs. So please take a look and find out. It's a very spacious room. We're gonna have awards as usual tomorrow morning. In addition to the traditional SP awards, we're going to host the IEEE level Society Award starting tomorrow morning. We have 3 awardees. Probably you have picked up the wonderful flyers of our 3 awardees for tomorrow morning. Please join us congratulating our awardees. So we have exciting short talks Tuesday, tomorrow, after the sessions. This is one of the very exciting session. You know, what is better than fast speed into some very exciting news and new ideas, right? So you probably have received emails also from our organizing community. Tomorrow, after the session's over, we are going to have the TC business meeting to look into some of the structures and some issues will be discussed and voted on. Please join us. It's open to everybody. And as last year and a few years before, we'll continue to have the NIDRD panel on Wednesday after the session's over. This year, we're focused on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. Very exciting topics and very timely. Then we're going to have the SBW bridging reception on Wednesday. And lastly, but not least, the students be mentoring. Extremely exciting event. You know, students talking with the leaders in the community to learn a lot of professional and career advices. We have 6 wonderful, exciting workshops, some new, some returning, to be happening on Thursday. So please join us and look into some of the particular problems, interesting issues in the field. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce my colleagues, the 39th IEEE Symposium on Security and Privacy Program Chairs, Brian Parnell and Christopher Krugel.
So thank you, Jason, and I'm going to be giving the opening remarks on behalf of myself and Christopher Krugel. So welcome to San Francisco, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the process that led up to the papers that you're going to see over the next 3 days. As many of you know, that we introduced a brand new reviewing system. It's new to Oakland, it's new to the security community, aside from PETS, which has some experience with this model. The motivation, as we discussed last year and in the years leading up to this change, was to allow authors to submit their papers when they're ready, to incentivize that behavior, and to improve the quality of the papers that actually come out at the end and of the review process itself. So in order to meet those goals, we introduced a monthly submission deadline. So this was approved in May, so we didn't actually start until July, but you could submit July up through December. And we also added a new option for the decisions that was not an accept or reject, it was a revise that gave the authors up to 3 months to submit a revision, and it would go back to the original reviewers to assess whether the paper was now at the bar for Oakland. So to give you a little bit of sense of what the internal process looked like, We had a deadline on the first of each month. Internally, we ran the sort of standard bidding process, so we did some experiments with machine learning to see if we could make that a little bit more automatic. After that, we assigned all of the reviews, and then the reviewers had about 32-ish days, so a little over a month, to submit their reviews for that batch of papers. They had 13 days to discuss them online using the conferencing software. And then we had a virtual PC meeting via Zoom. So people would dial in, we would discuss the papers as we traditionally would in an in-person meeting, and that would help resolve some of the conflicts that we weren't able to resolve during the online discussion. We aim to announce all of the results by the 1 month plus 25 days. So our SLA was to get all of the results back within 2 months of original submission. And the camera-ready papers would then do 1 month after the notification. And we worked with IEEE to try and get these papers out quickly. And so in general, about 7 days after the camera-ready had been submitted, we had them online, open access, about 7 days later. And so we had papers that were accepted early last year, or early last fall, and they were already online and have been online up until very recently. So hopefully this has been helping disseminate the research a little bit faster than in old years. And of course, we had to decide what was going to appear at the symposium, and so the cutoff was to say that all new papers that were accepted by February 1st or revisions that were accepted by March 1st are those that are going to appear. And we still had some revisions that are still trickling in, and they'll appear at the 2019 symposium, but their papers have already started to go online. So ideally, this process would lead to a nice smooth trend where people submit when the papers are ready and continuously throughout the year. We were just starting this process, and so you can see our distribution wasn't quite as smooth as we might have been hoping. The blue bars here show the number of submissions. That's on the left-hand side, and the orange line is showing the CDF. So how many percentage of the total number of submissions have we received? So we did get some smoothing. So by October, we had over a third of the papers had been submitted by October. By November, it was up to 65%, and of course, we wrapped up in December, but you can see that we still have a community of people who like to procrastinate and push things off to the last minute. Altogether, we had 549 submissions, which is a record for Oakland. I'll get into comparisons with previous years in a moment, but if you look at the acceptance rate, which is shown here in green, and the rate at which we were telling papers to revise, shown here in orange, you can see we were actually remarkably consistent from month to month. So there was some variation from month to month, and particularly in July where we had a small sample, but in general, there was no particular advantage to submitting early versus late. So hopefully this is a incentive to go out and only submit your papers to the future systems when your paper is ready, because waiting till the last moment isn't going to hurt or help you in terms of being accepted or getting a revise. If we look at the papers that did receive a revised decision, which was about 26 papers, 65% of them wound up being accepted. 19 were rejected. 2 papers, which was 8%, decided to withdraw, and there are 2 papers that we're still making a decision on. And so this hopefully shows that revised papers, if the authors go off and do what was suggested in the revision and do it well, they're likely to get accepted, but this is not the same as shepherding. We've had shepherding in the past, and typically all shepherded papers wind up getting accepted. It is possible to have a revised paper and not get accepted. And you can see that most of the papers that got a revised decision will be appearing at 2018, and some fraction will show up at 2019. This is a slightly smaller graph. I don't know if you can see the x-axis too well, but those are the topics that authors self-selected when they submitted the paper. And so in blue, you can see the number of papers that were submitted with that option checked. And in orange, you can see the acceptance rate. So you can see we had a lot of submissions that qualified as attacks and defenses. We had very few that were in the censorship category. And you can see that there's a significant variation across the acceptance rate. So we have a big spike around hardware where not many papers are submitted on hardware, but quite a few were accepted. So take from that what you will. Just to summarize, overall we had 549 submissions. Of those, 533 were well-formed in the sense that they did not obviously violate our formatting or anonymization guidelines. Of those, we eventually accepted between 66 and 68, depending on the fate of these last 2 revised papers. So looking at that, we had a 14% accept rate. If you only look at the papers that are appearing here, it goes down to 12%, but I'm not sure if that's the right metric given the new ongoing submission system. If you look back at previous years, this is a graph showing years of Oakland history with blue bars meaning the number of submissions. So you can see that for 2018, we went up by 27%, so it's a significant rise with this new model. If you look at the acceptance rate, historically it's gone from about 10% back in the late 2000s up to 14% last year. If you look at only the papers appearing here at this symposium, we were at 12%. If you look at the actual acceptance rate through the entire review process, we're at 14%. So we're being fairly consistent with where we were before. If you look at the goals we set out, we said we wanted to get everybody a response within 2 months. We actually managed to successfully do that for all 549 submissions. So I'm very grateful to the PC and all the effort they put in to make sure that we hit those deadlines. And we also hit that for all but one of the revised papers. So I think we did well on that front. If you look at the volume of work that went into this process, the PC workload was 1,565 reviews, which I think is a huge amount of work. And every time I'm involved in this process, I'm amazed at the generosity of all the reviewers who pour lots and lots of time into giving good, generous feedback to the authors. And it worked out to about a median of 18 papers per reviewer, which is actually a significant drop from last year. Last year it was 24 on average. And if you look at the total output of what they produced over 800,000 words of hopefully useful feedback to the authors, and over almost 3,000 comments that were posted as part of the online discussion. So there was a very vibrant and active community discussing all of these papers and the decisions around them. So a couple of program notes. I know Jason already posted the schedule. I just wanted to call out that the award papers, we're actually still voting on those, and nobody knows what the outcome is going to be. And we will not be telling the authors of the papers receiving the awards. So if you are an author, please make sure you show up on Tuesday morning, because you might be one of the winners, and you won't know in advance. And last year we had at least one paper where the author was busy working on his slides and didn't show up for the award, and we thought seriously about going to the next paper on the list. So hopefully that's incentive for you all to show up on Tuesday morning. And also for the business meeting on Tuesday, just to emphasize, everybody here, you are invited and encouraged to attend. So please don't feel like, even if it's your first time or if you're not familiar with how things work, please come out and find out a little bit more. And with that, I have a number of people I'd like to thank. So I'd like to thank all the authors for submitting and for sending your work to Oakland. Without you, this would not be much of a conference. I'd like to thank everybody who came out to see the hard work the authors and the speakers have put in. I'd like to thank the organizing committee, particularly Jason, and for his leadership and for taking care of all the logistics around putting the symposium on so that we could focus on the technical program. This year, we introduced new roles to the program committee. We had associate chairs who helped Christopher and I stay on top of everything. So in particular, we had Luyo Bauer, Surgeon Kapkun, David Evans, and Mike Hicks. So they really went above and beyond the standard PC load to really help keep an eye and make sure everything stayed on track and that Christopher and I weren't dropping anything along the way. And there was the program committee themselves and the external reviewers. So in fact, if you were on the program committee, could you stand up? I'd like to give everybody a round of applause here. And with that, I'd like to say thank you all and enjoy the conference.